because it will be recorded. All right. Now, if any of you all would like to, you didn't hurt anything, so if anybody would like to, somebody, get her, a couple of those rags. Can y'all see okay from back there, John? Because you can watch on this. What is this thing doing? Okay, it's just trying to adjust on that plain white. Okay. Okay, now what we're going to be looking at tonight is a way of doing the human body that's going to concentrate, just one second. This is going to concentrate on breaking the human body down into three major areas that we want to think about. Okay? That's good. Sorry. Believe me. That will not suffer. Okay. Now the first thing I want to make you aware of is the fact that we're going to look at the body with the right kind of pencil. What's Philip? Hey, Philip. Yeah. Can you hear it okay? Yeah. Okay, good. You come on back in. Now we're gonna break the body into three basic parts that we want to think about. One of them is going to be the head, which we're going to make with an egg. Okay, and we're going to come back and maybe show the back of it like this. And that's all the definition that you want, because the primary thing that we're going to be doing on this, okay, is we're going to be thinking about not perfect anatomy, not making sure that all the measurements are correct, and so forth. What we want to have is an emphasis on two main things: form and gesture. Okay, I know people, in my own experiences included, that could do pictures of people where they could get everything correct on it as far as the anatomy and everything related to it, but the problem would be it had no animation. The figures were stiff, okay? What we're doing is we're not doing people. We want to put people in paintings. Now, when I say form, we're going to take that egg, and we're going to do like this, and we're going to do like this, okay? And then if we want to, we'll do this, and this, and this. And a lot of times, that's all you're going to need if you want to put people in your painting, okay? It's a piece of cake. All right, then the next thing we want to do, and I use a symbol in the beginning of my thumb, okay, because the thumb can represent the rib cage of the body, okay, because I want to think of the head, the chest, and the hips. Okay, now if I do the thumb, I can do this like this, and it works very well from the standpoint that it gives me almost a perfect, or a replica, I should say, a good replica, not a perfect, of what the rib cage would be. But more importantly, I can take my thumb, and I can rotate my thumb, I can tilt it, I can really see what this is going to look like from every direction. And then, lastly, I'll show you what we're going to do for the hips, but instead of the thumb, I think I'm going to submit a thimble, okay? Because you can take a thimble and its shape is close enough and almost do the same thing with a thimble. Now, all of these things are going to be based on understanding centerlines. Okay, if this thimble was going to be like this and like this, and this is what you want to learn to master, Sally. Yes. In other words, you want to understand this is a shape. Now it becomes a form, you see, and I can have this however I want it. Okay, and the point is, once you add value to it, it goes beyond just being an outline of something, and it takes on a definitive shape or form, okay? And so, but here's the good thing about this particular concept. Let's just say I took this thing right here, and I wanted to make it look like a chest, okay, or like a rib cage. And I'll draw it the same way. I'll start with the center line. I can do this. I can do this. Come around like this. Okay, now, if I wanted to make it the rib cage, I would just do this. You see, again, it's kind of sad looking ribs, but that's all right. And that gives me the form looking at it from the front. Now what works so well, and this is what you have to envision, I can take the same object, I'll hold it up a little closer to you, and I can, remember there's a center line going down the middle of it and a center line down the outside of it, and I can rotate it. Okay, so if I did the same thing, and I did this, and this, and then this, and this. Okay, but this center line, so you have a center line down the middle, but when you rotate it, there's also a center line on the outside of it. Okay, if I take this center line and I move this center line over here, okay, then what I'm going to wind up with is a rib cage now that's going to look like this. And we'll put the form on it the same way and maybe show a little bit of the shadow on it.
Would the left side be shorter?
Yes, this would be shorter because I'm taking that center line and I'm rotating it like this. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, let's just say I decided that I want to take that thimble and I'm going to rotate it and I'm going to tilt it. I'm going to do this. You see? Well, it's very simple. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. You see, always begin with that center line. Come like this and like this. And you can foreseeably learn to do anything. But can you imagine now, all of a sudden, from not really thinking anything at all about, knowing where to start on the human body, we can draw the rib cage. And you know what's nice about the rib cage? I don't care if a person's fat, if they're thin. I don't care what the rib cage is never going to change. So we have a known factor here that we can learn to draw in any rotation, any tilt, and so forth. And let's just say it's going to be head-on like this. We'll just do the same thing again.
So the right side would be shorter here.
Well, here it's down the middle. So, I forgot to rotate. You're right. I said rotate and tilt. So that should have come like this. Exactly. So if you tilt it this way, that center line's moving over. So you're going to show more of this side and less of the other side, okay? So now we have the head, which is not really a big deal. We've substituted the thumb with the thimble, and we've rotated this around like this, okay? And then we're going to come over like this. And then lastly, we're going to take our final object, which is going to be a spool. Okay, now, let's say we want to look at this spool like it's going to be the hips, but let's do it from the side. So we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, okay, and this, and this. And you notice how I started with the center line. Okay, let's just say I want to take the hips and I want to rotate it this way, but I want to put it like I'm looking at a much broader angle from the side. Well, first of all, you see how that ellipse gets wider and that's thinner? Okay, and that's because I'm foreshortening it. But you notice I started with the center line, so I can foreseeably take this spool of thread and I can rotate it and tilt it any way that the human body will do. Okay? And then, of course, you have to recognize that. Now, having said all of that, you'll never do it, Dan. No, if you wait, I'm going to have lessons on all of this. I mean, you're welcome to do it, but it'll be easier. All right. Now, having said all of that, this is the figure we want to do. And I'm going to come a little closer like this. Okay? And now, as I look at this figure, we're going to get into the final thing about drawing people that I think is the most important thing of all. Okay? And that is, if I'm looking down through the top of this person's head, and this person would be standing straight, let's just say as an example, let's just turn the paper back like this. Okay, this person would be standing where his shoulders would be square, his legs, his pants, everything else would be like this. I'm going to have a center line going down the middle of that person, okay, that I can take that person and rotate on, but everything is always going to be equal on both sides, okay? And that center line is the line that the weight's going to be on of the body, okay? Now, when I come over to this gentleman and I look at what we've got here, okay, I notice that, and y'all can possibly, we'll go a little bit closer. I don't know what makes this up. Crazy thing to do that. All right. Now, let's just take, for example, I'm standing right here. And I'm looking at you all, and I have a center line going down the middle of my body, okay, all the way down. I'm equal on both sides. Now, I can take this body, and I can rotate it. You see, and as long as this body's straight up and down, that center line's always going to be in the middle. Now, that's the line. I don't know what the term I want to use. Maybe somebody can help me come with. But it's where the weight of the body is going to be centered. Okay, it's an imaginary line, but you can recognize it. Okay, now what have we got here in this picture? We have this gentleman that's dancing. Now, he's not in a natural pose in that he probably couldn't just stand here, but then maybe he could, okay? But I want you to notice, if we draw a center line down the middle, like this, okay, that the weight of the body is no longer straight up and down and symmetrical. Notice that this side of the body's turned over this way, that side of the body's over on that side. You see? And that's what I'm talking about, balancing the weight. The body does that all automatically. Now, but the center line that was in the middle of the body is now right down the middle of his leg. Because if you'll notice, he can do this. The weight is here. So the minute I lift my leg and I move over, the weight is here, except I caught him in a posture where it's this, okay? And so from that angle, you can see the body, if the body goes like this, it's got to go this way. You see what I'm saying? And so what we'll do then is we'll start from right here. Let's go up a little bit bigger with this. Okay, we'll start right here.
It's fuzzy.
I'm just making it do that. Oh, I know where it is.
That's clear.
Okay, I know what happens. Because what happens...
It
has nothing to focus on, right? We had that happen a couple of weeks ago. Okay. Now I want to do this taller like this because I want to be able to make it, okay, where I'm free to do it however I want to do it. All right. Now the first thing we notice is that center line's coming down the middle of the body. Sorry, 8B. That's supposed to be an 8B, man. I'll take care of that. So we're going to come down with the center line like this. All right, now if you notice, the thimble representing the rib cage is not straight up and down. It's tilted just a tiny bit. Can you see that? Because, see, when you do that, you get in gesture and you get in form. So it's tilted just a little bit like this. Okay, and because his body's facing this way, the center line is going to be over to the right. Okay, so just for the heck of it, let's put that thimble in there. I can see it probably starts about here. I might not even do the center line on this. I'll just go down like this and bring this around like this. Okay, now I'm moving him up around here. That means I'm going to have the foreshortening like this. And that's probably just about right, okay? You get the idea. Now, when I come down to the hips, okay, the hips, once he's standing like this, once he does this and comes up, what's going to happen to those hips? This side's moving up, okay? And so we want to recognize that this hip on this side, now remember the center line's coming, I probably should have had that over a little bit more, but that's all right. The center line is coming down the middle. So we're going to do this. We're going to move it up a little higher like this. Okay? Now we're going to take the vertebrae and we're going to connect it in the back like that. Now for the head, remember I was saying all you need, his head is a little bit above the body. Now normally, one of the things you want to remember about the head is the fact that the back of the head is normally on the back of the body. But what is he doing? He's leaning his body forward. Okay, so we're going to get more of that angle on the head. You see, and it'll be more or less resting on that line. Okay, now when we come to this part down here, which is going to be the leg, we can see where the foot is almost right in the center of where that center line is. And that's where he's almost a little bit tilted over this way. You know, you can see he's in motion to go back before he would fall over. Now, here's the key. You want to remember when you're doing the legs that the top part of the leg is going to be a convex. And now notice I'm not doing any body measurements, I'm not doing anything. The bottom of the leg is going to be a concave. Okay, and I'll bring this a little straighter. So what we actually have is like an S in the leg. that we want to pick up, and that's very important. Now notice the position of that foot here. We'll come around like this, and then we'll come around like this. Okay. Now, on this leg over here, and this is where you start really seeing the tilt. Look at the perspective, it's pretty severe. So I picked that perspective up, and actually, he's probably got that hip switched around a little bit more the other way. So we're going to come up like this, and we're going to curve this, do this, kind of bring this one down like this, and then we'll pick up that other foot down here off the ground. Okay, and look at how it already starts picking up the animation, you see? Now, when we come down here, this arm's pretty easy. Now, you're getting a foreshortening. He's clapping, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to take this arm coming off of here. It's going to go back like this, and then he's going to bring it. It's going to go right, just right about across his chest like that, okay? And then this one is going to be totally foreshortened. We're going to bring it straight down like this, and you're almost not seeing anything. You're seeing this, and then you're seeing the hand here. And then let's just go ahead and, I like putting the little character things on here. Let's put this on him. Okay, and now we've got our man. You get the idea? Now, once you get to this point, okay, and you want to do some of this, you can take this, get you a piece of tracing paper, and now that I've got the animation right, let's see if I can find a red pencil real quickly. I'll get a red piece of chalk. That'll be better. Let's get this red where we can see it better. Now, all I'm going to have to do now is just come in, bring this down, and just start dealing with shapes again. And you see, if you were doing this and painting it, you would just come in and absolutely put it on there without it. You didn't even have to do any drawing. See, this is going to, what's a dead giveaway is this goes all the way down. This helps you capture that form of that body, you see. It comes all the way around here. And then let's get that arm coming in like this. I'm not going to do too much on the hands. Okay, but then you see, you can look at the muscles. You can pretty well figure out what the muscles are doing. So we're going to come down like that. And then, of course, we still have the head basically like this. I'm not going to worry about any detail on the head at this point. Okay, because all I'm wanting you to see is the form. Now, this is going to come back like this. Okay, and then we can just bring this down. This is almost a straight line. And look how every bit of that, see how that picks this up? Look how every bit of that falls right into place here. Now notice this foot really should have come out a little bit more like this. Okay, and then this is going to be clinging pretty close to his pants here, like this. Come on down like this, and then we'll bring this across. Now we have it. We got this part right here.
He's minus his left hand.
Yes. I was just seeing if you're going to catch me on that, Sally. Okay, and look at what we have. Go up just a little bit higher with it.
That's very
Isn't it unbelievable? In just that few minutes. Now, if I would, this is what we're going to start off with right now. In other words, I want you to learn to get to do this. If you want to put the cover over it, you can do that,
Yeah.
and so forth and so on. Now, what we're going to eventually do is I'm going to build this up to a point where I'm going to actually do it with a, I'm going to take a paintbrush and I'm just going to show you how to put shapes in and block it in, like I did on the cruise, okay, like we did on some of those things. But for now, for the time being, y'all follow this pretty simply? Isn't it amazing? 42 years I haven't done people in paintings, and that's what caused this to happen. So, hope you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Now, what I'd like to do is I'm going to get this here for you, and if you want to take this and set it up by your desk or however you want to do it,
That'd be great.
you can go ahead and do that, and then use this one and draw it from there. Okay? Big enough for you to see?
Yes?
Good.
Yes. Good.
Well, tonight we're going to have a little study that I feel like I might be biting off a little bit more than I can chew. But here we have a picture of a carriage driver in the French Quarter of New Orleans, and it's a very small picture as far as what I'm looking at, and I thought about blowing it up for detail, but in reality, what I'd really like to do on this is something in keeping with what I've been doing with figure studies lately, as far as the animation, the gesture. This I'd like to do it with the portrait. And what I want to basically do is, I'm probably biting off more than I can chew, and it's just one of those kind of things that I'm not unsure of what I'm doing. It's just that it's kind of new, and I don't really know exactly where I'm going to go with it. But anyhow, we're going to try a real quick rendering of this, where I'm going to be concentrating not as much on perfect anatomy as I am capturing the gesture of the gentleman, and also maybe the form more than anything else, in keeping with our other studies. So we'll just set this over to the side here. This is the particular pose I've chosen, and I'm only going to do the top part of the man, and that's all. Now, we're going to start, first of all, I'm using what I call my sketching colors. I've got my my ultramarine blue, cadmium red, hooker's green, burnt sienna, and cadmium yellow, and of course my white. And that's what I'm going to use as a basis, because again, I'm not interested in a lot of color. Now, let's just soften some of these lines. I used a 2B pencil, that's all I had, and some of this is a little bit too jagged. And we're going to try to start and finish this thing in 10 minutes, okay? Give or take 2 or 3 hours possibly. All right. First thing I notice in the photograph, you might not see it too well on the screen right now, but we have 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 light areas with just a couple of major light areas, okay? So what I'm going to do first of all is put a wash over the entire face, and but I'm going to leave the extreme white areas and just do a light wash first. I'm going to do this with a pretty good sized brush, and so let's just take a little bit of our burnt sienna, and we'll add a little bit of ultramarine blue to it, a little bit of cadmium red, and let's get a little scrap of piece of paper here to see exactly what I'm coming up with. Okay, I'm satisfied with this color, maybe a little bit more burnt sienna in it. Okay, now I want to lay one flat wash over everything, as I said, except you notice I'm using that 1/2-inch brush. There's a ridge on the nose, highlight right here on the end of the nose. I want to capture that in there. Leave this a little bit lighter here. And then coming off of this section here, maybe I can even lighten this just a little bit here where, well, that's okay, I got it a little darker than I wanted to. Okay, I'm going to come down here with another light. Same way here, bring this around. But maybe not even get this picky with it. Maybe just go over everything completely. And just leave the highlights a little bit more simpler, like I really wanted to do originally. Now again, I'm purposely not trying to put detail, not making excuses, but this is just going to be something a little bit different than what I'm accustomed to doing. Okay, now coming down here, we catch one major highlight on his lip. We want to capture that. Maybe a little major highlight right here, and on the nose and here, and that's all we're going to leave. The rest of it, we're just going to come in with this first tone. Bring it around like this. Now, it's a little bit rough on some of the edges, so I'm going to come back in here and just take a round brush now, if this isn't dried completely on me, and just soften some of this a little bit. Now that's not maneuvering as much as I'd like it to, but that's close enough. Just tone it down slightly, except for where I want the real white part to be in there. I can add a little color like this if I want to. Okay. Now I've got a light tannish color on the hat. So I'm going to just take a little bit of the burnt sienna again, possibly a little bit of blue. And I'll always get out my little sheet and test it like this. Now I want this so light that it's just barely a tan. Maybe even put a little bit of yellow in it. Want somewhat of a cream color. Okay, that's going to be sufficient for what I want. Okay, now we'll just come across again. Little strong. Let's go a little bit more yellow. And as I particularly get down to the rim, I want it to be really light. And then just drag a little bit of this across here where we have some color. Okay, now, I don't really know what pattern I would like to have on the shirt. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the shirt a solid pattern. And I'm going to make my decision now to make it somewhat of a lighter tone. So I'll bring it down like this, and let's just maybe leave a few highlights. It's a plaid shirt in the photograph, but I'm not really interested in that. So I'll bring it around here, maybe leave a few little highlights right here. Now this is all going to be in shadow over here, so I'll pretty well follow that. Maybe leave a little highlight there on the collar. And then for the rest of it, just bring it straight on down. Now my face is not completely dry like I'd like it to be, but I think it's close enough. Besides, I'd like to do a little bit of this with it. Now I'm going to go with it a little bit wet. I want it to run a little bit. I just really wanted to look like I didn't care. I just did it. All of us have that problem. We just want it to be so tight. So I'm putting a little bit of ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, and cadmium red now. And we're just going to really make this a solid shadow. Now, what this is going to do is going to move along with this pretty quickly because it's a cast shadow. And we're going to come up like this, over here, come up the side of the nose, round it off here to show the roundness of the nose. Bring it out like this to pick up a little bit of the eye, cross the eye, and then just come completely around here. And we're just going to make that solid. Well, I'm beginning to think I've lost it already. Now let's come like this, a little bit of water and soften that edge. Bring some of this down here, soften this, and then just bring that all the way down on the side. Okay, we've got that part in. Now, we notice that on the top of the hat, it's a strong burnt sienna color. I'm going to put a little bit of blue with it to tone it down slightly. And then we're just going to start in here. And these little patterns are rather unusual. They're separated, but it's kind of not a clear-cut separation. And so we're just going to continue along with them, and as they come like this, they'll begin to follow the pattern of the hat a little bit more, so we'll bring it around like this. And then pretty soon we just run it off the edge of the picture. Okay, now we'll come back on this side over here. And ironically, this has a pattern that's kind of coming this way a little bit. So we'll do this. Basically show that like that. Now, here we'll just let it flow with the natural pattern again. It's going to start rounding like this, and then you'll have meat like that kind of in the middle. Okay. All right, now, while that's still wet, let's just take a little bit of our grayish color, and there's a shadow across the back of it. And just for the heck of it, let's just go ahead and do it while it's wet. Why not? And then on the base of it, we're going to kind of have a little connecting line like this that groups all this together. And then we'll have a line that's going to come kind of across here like this, showing the rim. And then on the inside of it, we'll just have a few little patterns going back and forth like this. Okay, now I think the face is probably to a point that I can come back and do something on this. Now notice again, well, we got about, let's see, what I've used, about 3 minutes?
Yeah, about 3.
Oh man, that's great. I feel real comfortable with it now. Okay, we'll just start outlining the features of the nose. Bring that down pretty strongly like that. And then add a little water to it and soften it. And likewise, we're going to pick up a pretty strong shadow on this side. So we'll let this just come down here, run along the nostril. Below the nostril, like we see it happening there. A little bit more shadow here, creating somewhat of a triangle there. Now let's come across with, see, part of this ended about right here. We'll come across with the top lip. That's going to really be the defining thing for us on the lip, because we're not going to see too much of the bottom one. Okay, and then across here we want to put a line. Bring it down like this. And softly across. Now, I'm going to take a little bit of burnt sienna. When I put my shadow color in there, the gray is showing up a lot more than I thought it would. So I'm just going to take a little light color, the burnt sienna, and warm it up a little bit. And I like that much better. Kind of do the same thing over here. I don't know if y'all can see it on that screen, but just that little touch of brown is really bringing it out very nicely. Bring it across like this. Especially, it can help me form some of the nostril part of it that I'd like to have a little bit more distinct. Okay. Now, believe it or not, that's almost going to do it for the face as far as the features go. I like that brown. I think that was a nice addition to it. Put some of the shadow on this side now with a little darker brown. Now I've got this forming here pretty good. I want that part to be a little bit darker. And then we're going to take the side of the face, some of the brown and gray, and start with a kind of a middle tone color here. Just bring it straight on down and then wash it out a little bit. Curve it up here. Soften it. And what you have for the eyes is you just have a little indication of this coming out like this. Maybe a little bit of shading here. You're not really seeing any eye, so just enough to give a little bit of definition to it. And then we're going to come back like this. Put a little bit more of that brown in here. Okay, a little extra line work now, here and there, to start tying parts of it together better. Let's put a little bit of this here. By this point, I'll use anything, line work, whatever I need to do the job. Maybe tone some of that down a little bit. Okay, we'll come around to the ear. All we want to do on the ear now is just get a little stronger color. Come back around like this. And I'm going to let that dry for a minute, and then I'm going to come back in and add a little something, just a little bit of definition to that ear. Okay, now up in these areas where it's a little bit on the brighter side, I won't hesitate to use a little white paint if I need to. I'm going to tone down. That helped it a lot, toning the bridge of that nose down. But here I'll just hit it with a little bit of white. I like the way my lip area came out here. Maybe add a little bit more of this to it, like this. Put a little plain brown. Kind of round this out. Also create a little bit more of that jaw. And then where this light is a little bit bright here, tone it down with a little color. And then we could just put some little highlights on it. Just come down like that. It's amazing when you just do a little touch here and there what it does for it. Now while it's wet, so this will give me the nice rounded effect I want to get. And this will come up a little bit thicker here. And I think I'll just leave that. All right, let's go back to our line work now, and we'll see if we can put a little. I want to put a little bit of an indication of the ear anatomy, but not a whole lot. I'm just going to do that and leave it. I don't like this particular highlight area I left there. I was just trying to make sure I didn't lose that definition, but that's okay. All right. Now let's just put the shadow in on the body. And again, we're going to go to our brown and blue. Not have it quite as dark as the other portion of it in the face. And notice the transparency of the face still comes through. Bring this around here. I don't want to lose any of the clarity that I have in here. But we'll just bring this around and down. Bring it on out like this. Now where I feel like it's a little bit weak, right up under the neck here, I'm just going to come in with a lot stronger shadow just from this part right here, wherever I feel like it needs it. Drop it down a little bit. Put a few little finishing touches here. Maybe a little bit darker shadow under where the collar is going to be. Get a lot more burnt sienna over here. How about a little bit of plain blue for our background color, just to have a light color back behind it, tie it together a little bit. Do the same thing over here. And we'll just call him finished. Except for just a little bit more dark, naturally. Decided I wanted to lose all this over here. That's it.
See you next week.
All right,
It
thank
looks
you.
Great.
Think so?
What did you paint now? Let's see. This is who you're doing? Right here?